This is a ranked 6-player progressive card game which is being played in public lobbies with Master Plus ranked players. I haven't played with progressive card games in public lobbies for a while now, so I'm wondering how much smarter have the Master ranked players gotten during all of those months. In progressive card games, one of the most important things could be to be well spread out enough, so if I was playing with professional Risk players, then I would have added my troops to Australia. But since this game is being played in public lobbies where a lot of people will be desperate to go for continents, I thought I will rather not add any troops to Australia because it will almost certainly go wrong. I mean, if you don't have the clear troops advantage in either Australia or South America, then you could very likely expect getting your added troops crushed when playing in public lobbies. So personally I wouldn't add my troops there, but when you play with players who are smart, who you know wouldn't stupidly crush your troops, then obviously it could be a very great idea to have some troops in those continents, especially in Australia with it being very isolated. Talking about the specific game, it seems that the purple and pink players will be contesting for Australia, which is a not very smart idea in a 6-player progressive card game, as if they destroy a lot of troops on each other then they will become very weak and easy targets to get taken out for their cards. Though not necessarily they're looking to fight for Australia, the purple player might just want to deter the pink player from capturing Australia by building an army next to him, as the pink player would understand that he could just simply wipe out Australia for purple if doing so. And the pink player might just be adding more troops in Australia so just not to get his troops crushed by purple, but also at the same time that's possible that they just both want to fight for Australia and actually not putting any big brain thoughts whatsoever. Anyway, as you can see, I moved out my troops from Africa and then South America as well. As besides not adding new troops in the continents someone is going for, it could be important to move out your old troops too, as otherwise they would just simply get destroyed. In public lobbies it's better not to risk building a bigger army in the continent someone is going for. If a player is desperate going for it, then very likely he will still stay, so eventually crushing your army even though he is not taking you out. Since firstly wanting to move away from the green player's South American border, now I added some troops in Europe, but hopefully the yellow player won't be dumb enough to crush it, though who knows, I'm certainly not guaranteed. At first, with him adding his troops in Africa, I thought that he is looking to spread out, but then after moving to Europe and capturing one extra territory to combine his two armies into one, he might actually be wanting to seriously go for Europe. So I will be moving my troops towards Asia to completely evacuate from Europe. Anyway, with the pink player with his Asian army crushing 3 troops army of the purple player and bringing that army closer to Australia last turn, I think the pink player probably seriously intends to go for Australia, so if I was the purple player, then I would be very careful. As of now it might be fine to still keep building his army on Siam, but I think he should be looking forward to move out from the pink player's way soon. Though it would probably be hard for me to believe that a master rank player would go with the logic of no Australia, no win, of getting Australia at any cost, even if that means that it could immediately lose him the game, especially in a 6-player game when with some another player having a bigger army somewhere close as well. So after you successfully wiping out your opponent from Australia, that another third player could take it from you easily anyways if wanting. Talking about myself, I'm planning to evacuate Europe once my turn comes. In the last turn I combined my 2 European armies into one, and now I'm ready to move that army into Asia, as otherwise I would be in the risk of the yellow player crushing my troops. It would obviously be a bad decision for the yellow player to do, as we both would become as easy targets to be taken out for the cards, and at the same time it would be much harder for us to take anyone out ourselves. So we would almost certainly both lose the game if with the yellow player doing so. So I'm absolutely not going to risk that. I will just let the yellow player capture and have Europe. It would probably get invaded anyways, so unless the yellow player would make the troop splits to properly guard all of the 4 borders, but then with him having a bunch of smaller armies in the same place, it would be much harder for him to take someone out. And that might be one of the reasons why I don't like going for Africa in 6-player progressive card games as well, The white player, to properly guard it, builds 3 different armies on the borders which are basically in the same exact place, while if just building his troops in Africa just to one army, then that army would be much more suitable for taking someone out later on in the game. Then when it comes to South America, if I have it, and if someone has Africa, then I just like to put just a few troops in Brazil to not irritate the African player while building a bigger army on Venezuela, but obviously without blocking it. The thing is that if you will build a bigger army in Brazil, while another player puts some more troops in North Africa as well, then these Brazilian troops will probably be only suitable of going to take that African player out, so that really minimizes your suitability of taking someone else out. As even if your Brazilian army is bigger, then firstly you would still need to go through the African player troops. Keep in mind that continents are just secondary thing in 6-player progressive classic map games, and I would only recommend going for them if you can get them easily in the game. Like the green and white players got them relatively easily and fast, so that's good for them. While the pink and purple players, if they actually intend to go for Australia, then they would rather forget about doing so. At this point of the game, a 2 troops continent is basically meaningless, and you might even have to lose more troops than actually getting them. Also, with the pink player potentially wiping white, yellow and mine troops from Australia, he would make us as much easier targets to be taken out for the cards. Though his troop split between Siam and Indonesia territories is probably not really efficient, so if I was him, then I would just simply move out from Australia, especially when the purple player is putting a big pressure on him with his army near and could eventually decide to crush his troops with him trading an A set before pink. And alright, that's a just certified no Australia, no win moment. There was absolutely no reason for the pink player to crush his army into purple. Luckily for the pink player, he got the most amazing blitz roll, crushing quite a bigger army, losing even 11 troops fewer. Otherwise it would have really looked as a simple suicide. But yeah, the pink player didn't get a good blitz roll to take the last purple's territory, so the game has been actually given away for another player, who in this case is white, with him having the turn straightly after pink. And this is what happens when some of the players in the game don't understand that it doesn't worth to crush dozens of troops of another player just for a 2 troops continent. The progressive card games usually go for like from 8 to 10 rounds, so there's no way for you to get the value from it at all, and that's assuming if you even get lucky to survive somehow luckily. And I'm not sure what happened here either, with the white player blundering the game of crushing half of the troops of the green player while not having the access to the another half. I think after adding 5 troops on his Asian army, he could have just simply added the rest of 20 troops to his North African army, so then he would have almost certainly taken the green player out. When it comes to my case of why I didn't go for the green player despite having a set at 3 cards is because after taking him out I wouldn't have been able to trade in a set in the same turn, and then with that, with the white player having a set at 4 cards, I would have been taken out by him next. Though I'm not so sure on my decision and on what it would have actually been the best for me to do. With the green player crushing his army into white, now it's definitely worth for the yellow player to take out green rather than leaving him for the white player. And I mean, maybe the best decision for me would have been to unleash the yellow player's European army through Iceland, making him the way to go, taking the green player out, as I think that was actually good that the yellow player has taken the green player out. Otherwise the game would have been probably immediately won by white. But surprise surprise, the white player actually didn't have a set at 4 cards, so that comes a probability for me to win the game. So I'm definitely taking the white player out for his 5 cards rather than 1 carding. Though it seems that actually I didn't get that much of attacker's advantage, and with that I think I must bring my Icelandic army to manual roll the white player's North African army, so I would be guaranteed to successfully take him out. 93% chance with me checking, and I decided to take it. Too bad I had to unleash the yellow player's European army, but at least his South American army stays blocked. I mean, I'm not sure why he selected the bad pathing to take the green player out. If I were him, then I would have left the Brazil territory as the last, so that army wouldn't have ended up blocked. And the same thing about his European army. If I hadn't unleashed it, I'm not sure what's the appeal to add your army to a blocked place when the way to win at progressive cards is by taking others out when it's worth for their cards. And how are you supposed to take someone out if your armies are blocked? And alright, I think the yellow player is about to run out of time, so there might come my chance. I think the yellow player has made some pathing mistakes, besides with him unnecessarily leaving that 3-troop split in Ural while actually he could have captured it first rather than firstly capturing Siberia. I think after him wiping me out from Africa and going into Europe he should have captured it in the way which would have led him going into North America as to leave Australia for last. So with that, not only he wouldn't have needed to do the Australian troop split, but also he wouldn't have needed to do the 3-troop split in Japan too. Anyway, after all, by seeing that he would clearly run out of time to take me out, I think he should have definitely fortified his army out of the blocked place, as now I will just simply guarantee myself winning the game despite him being ahead of cards. As you can see, I trapped him into South America and at the same time card blocked him as well. I was running out of time, so unfortunately at the end I didn't invade him into South America through Venezuela, which wouldn't have unleashed his biggest army, but at this point that probably doesn't that much matter, as that's a GG. Here comes another epic victory. Now for another progressive card game recommendation, I would recommend you watching this video in which there's another South American blocking strategy, but this time to prevent others from taking that specific player out. That's one of the more advanced strategies as well.